LeBron James is one of the most hated athletes in the NBA today, whether that be from fans who love Michael Jordan and can't stand hearing LeBron's name even mentioned with him in the GOAT debate, or fans just looking at LeBron's resume and saying it just isn't enough for me to put him up there. Today I want to look at one of the most polarizing things on LeBron's resume, and that's his 4-6 finals record, and kind of go through each one of his losses and share my opinion on if the hate is justified. 2007 Cavaliers. If you ever heard anybody talk about this team, you would usually hear how LeBron carried a team full of role players and journeymen to the biggest stage in basketball, the NBA Finals. And if that's what you've been hearing, that's absolute facts. The Cavs that year were 50-32 and finished second in the Eastern Conference. While the Cavs offense that year finished 19th in points per game, their defense was their calling card, finishing 4th in defensive rating at 101.3, and LeBron was still LeBron that year, finishing 5th in MVP voting while playing next to guys like Larry Hughes, who was a decent player but nothing special, Daniel Gibson, a decent shooter, and Zydrunas Ilgauskas, a tall but skillful center. In the first round, the Cavs beat the Arenas and Butler-less Wizards in the first round 4-0, then beating the Jason Kidd-led Nets in the second round 4-2, and in the Eastern Conference Finals, the LeBron-led Cavs found themselves down 0-2 to the experienced Detroit Pistons, who had beaten them the year earlier in the second round. Also, 4-time Defensive Player of the Year Ben Wallace left the Pistons that offseason for the Bulls, and Wallace was a huge part of that 2004 Pistons team that won the championship, and without his presence, they couldn't stop LeBron for the rest of the series, especially in Game 5 where LeBron was going to score the Cavaliers' last 25 points to win the game and the series 4-2. But this is where things would stop going well for the Cavs, as they faced a talented, well-coached team who had already won 3 titles together by that point in the San Antonio Spurs. LeBron James and the Cavaliers just didn't have enough, as they were swept, giving LeBron his first finals appearance and loss. To me, this can easily be brushed aside, as the Cavs had no chance to beat the Spurs in 2007. The Spurs had a better team, coaching, and more experience than the Cavs did, and it showed on the court. Tony Parker will also be that year's finals MVP. 2011 Miami Heat. I already talked about the decision and how LeBron ended up on the Miami Heat in another video, so check that out for the backstory. But this was the first year the Big Three played together, as they would start the season off 9-8 while LeBron and Wade were trying to figure out whose team it was and how to share the load between 3 superstar players. Also, given that the roster around the Big Three was not that good because of all the money they used to get LeBron and Bosh on the team, the Heat would play much better ending the year with a 58-24 record, good for second place in the East, with each member of the Big Three making the All-Star team that year. In the first round, the Heat would face the Philadelphia 76ers and beat them in 5 games. In the second round, the Heat would defeat the Big Three Boston Celtics 4-1, and this will mark the first time LeBron would beat the Celtics in a playoff series. In the third round, the Heat would dispatch the reigning and defending MVP Derrick Rose and the Chicago Bulls 4-1 as well, to advance to both the Heat and LeBron's second NBA Finals appearance. But this series didn't go well for the Heat, as the Mavericks implemented a great defensive strategy that exploited LeBron's lack of a jump shot and upset the heavily favored Miami Heat 4-2, and LeBron had his worst series ever. Despite being up 2-1 at one point, the Heat would lose the next 3, and Dirk Nowitzki would be named the Finals MVP. All credit to the Mavs. When players needed to step up, they did, but this crushed LeBron's legacy, as in Game 4, LeBron only scored 8 points on 3 of 11 shooting and completely disappeared when his team needed him most. Also, the way he addressed his haters after the game showed a lack of maturity on his part and made LeBron an even bigger enemy in the eyes of basketball fans. 2014 NBA Finals. After winning 2 championships, 2 MVPs, and 2 Finals MVPs in 2012 and 2013, beating the Oklahoma City Thunder in 2012 in 5 games, and a shocking win versus the Spurs in 2013 where Ray Allen hit one of the biggest shots in NBA history, and kind of saved LeBron's legacy, because losing 3 finals series by that point would have probably took his name out of the GOAT debate for good. But the Spurs kind of choked as well. Missed free throws and Tim Duncan being out of the game for the last shot cost the Spurs their 5th title and haunted the Spurs for a whole year, and they were motivated to get back to the finals. 2014 marked the last season the Big Three would play together, as Wade's knees would start to sap him of his athleticism, and the Heat weren't the same team unless he was a 100%. Nonetheless, the Heat would finish the 2nd best record in the Eastern Conference, going 54-28. In the first round, they defeated the Michael Jordan-owned Charlotte Bobcats 4-0, then beat the Brooklyn Nets 4-1 in the second round, and for the 4th year in a row, they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, where the Heat defeated a young and talented Spurs team who was the first seed that year 4-2, and set up a rematch with the Spurs, who proceeded to blow the Heat off the court after the painful defeat they suffered the year before. That Spurs team showcased the best ball movement in team basketball I have ever seen, with Kawhi becoming the 3rd youngest Finals MVP because of his defense on LeBron in his really great last 3 games of the series. 4 out of the 5 games were complete blowouts, while D-Wade showed his decline, only averaging 15 points per game, while Bosh only averaged 14. And with this being LeBron's 3rd finals loss in 5 trips, he saw the aging Heat and knew he wasn't going to win any more championships. So in the offseason, being a free agent, LeBron returned to Cleveland and formed his own super team with budding star Kyrie Irving, and traded their 1st overall pick Andrew Wiggins to Minnesota for dominant shooting big man Kevin Love, and just like that, he was gone. 2015 NBA Finals. With LeBron James making his return to the team he left 4 years prior, expectations were high as always, as LeBron had a dynamic scorer in Kyrie Irving, who improved every year since being drafted 1st overall in the 2011 draft. They also got rebounding menace Kevin Love, who could also space the floor and give LeBron room to work. The Cavs finished that year 53-29 after a 19-20 start. In January of that year, the Cavs traded Dion Waiters and Lou Amundsen for J.R. Smith and Iman Shumpert, and this helped turn the Cavs season around, finishing 34-9 the rest of the season. And in the first round, the Cavs would sweep the Boston Celtics, but would ultimately lose Kevin Love to a shoulder injury, therefore causing him to miss the rest of the playoffs. In the second round, the Cavs would beat the Bulls in 6 games, setting up a Eastern Conference Finals matchup with the supposed 1st seeded Atlanta Hawks, where the Hawks would be embarrassingly swept. And just to remind you, that team had 4 All-Stars on it that season, and LeBron would make his 5th consecutive finals appearance against the up-and-coming Golden State Warriors with MVP Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson. But in Game 1, Kyrie Irving would break his kneecap in overtime and miss the rest of the finals. That meant LeBron would be by himself for the remainder of the finals, and though the Warriors would end up winning in 6 games, LeBron put up one of the most historic finals series of all time, averaging 35 points, 13 rebounds, and 9 assists, and pushed what should have been a sweep to 6 games. There were questions as to whether the MVP should have been given to LeBron, even though the only time that's happened was Jerry West back in 1969. Andre Iguodala will win Finals MVP after his defense on LeBron James, and in my opinion, it should have went to LeBron James hands down. But regardless, this was LeBron's 4th finals loss in his career. 2017-2018 NBA Finals. The Cavs were going to make the NBA Finals in 2016, and a rematch between the Cavs and Warriors would happen after Golden State went 73-9, breaking the 1995-96 record for most games won in the regular season, and Steph won his 2nd straight MVP, this one being the first time a player unanimously won the award in NBA history. When they met in the finals, the Warriors took control of the series, taking a 3-1 lead, but a Draymond Green suspension and Andrew Bogut injury, and the Cavs will storm back, taking the next 3 games, thanks in part to Kyrie Irving and LeBron putting the Cavs on their back and dominating a shook Warriors team, and climaxed with Kyrie Irving hitting a dagger 3 to give Cleveland their first championship in over 50 years. Well, that brings us to 2017, where the Cavs would sign free agent Kevin Durant and immediately vault the Warriors from a great team to unbelievable. The Cavs would storm back to the finals in 2017, but the KD-led Warriors were too much, beating them in 5 games. I wanted to put the 2017 2017 and 2018 finals together because it was a foregone conclusion that no matter who made the finals out of the East, there was no chance anybody was beating those healthy Warriors teams, especially after your second best player Kyrie Irving decides he doesn't want to play with you anymore and requests a trade in the offseason to be the man on his own team. And on August 22nd, 2017, the Cavs traded Kyrie Irving to the Boston Celtics for Jay Crowder and Isaiah Thomas, who just came off hip surgery that offseason. And the Cavs also signed a washed up Dwayne Wade, and LeBron went on to have a 2007-esque run through the playoffs, playing the best basketball I've ever seen. And low-key, this might have been the best LeBron James we have ever seen, carrying a weak and young Cavs roster to the finals and of course losing to the Warriors. And once again, LeBron was a free agent, and that offseason he opted out of his contract and left for the Los Angeles Lakers. LeBron will go on to win another championship in 2020 versus the Miami Heat in the bubble after the Lakers traded Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, and a bunch of first-round picks for Anthony Davis, bringing LeBron's finals record to 4-6. And yeah, 2011 is the only series where I could say LeBron didn't show up or crumbled under the pressure. The fact that LeBron was able to stay healthy enough to make 10 long finals runs is exceptional in itself, but on the other hand, after 2010, LeBron had a hand in a lot of decisions his team made, and to only have 4 championships with the type of teams he's had is kind of disappointing. Regardless, we have just witnessed greatness from LeBron that we may never ever see again, and unfortunately, the way his career is playing out now in Los Angeles, that finals record might stay at 4-6. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I will see y'all next time.